Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome everyone. This is just going to be a short session of 30 minutes. So, my husband wanted to share some knowledge that he's been learning about. He's in the training and development sector, and hopefully, this is going to be very useful for women, especially because there's a lot of negative voices that run in our head and they affect us and reduce our productivity. So I really hope that it's going to help you. It's just going to be a short session. You can keep your videos off. And if you have any questions, you're most welcome to ask them. So over to Mr. Atif Javed. Okay, Atif, over to you. You can start.
Hi, Ina, thank you. And as I can see, we have Sara on the call today. And should we still wait for the other participant,
No,
or
we
should
can
we
start.
start?
We can start.
Right. I'm just going to put my video on as a protocol. You don't have to if you don't want to, which is absolutely fine. And I think my video is on. Is it?
Yes, it's on.
It is on. Right, Sarah, I think you can interact with us using the chat box. So at least we know you're listening. Does that work?
Yeah, it's okay. You can start.
Great. So again, thank you for joining. And we're going to be talking about why we do what we do. The topic is a broad spectrum, I believe, but right now, this ranges back to years and years, I guess. It starts from the reasons of why we behave the way we behave, starts from our childhood, essentially. So before we start, I'd like to understand where are you in your journey or your understanding of this matter? I mean, you're here, so maybe this topic maybe spark an ounce of interest in your head. Maybe you're here just because of that's great, but maybe you're here because this topic is interesting to you. So if it is, I'd like to understand that when you see this question, which you see on the screen, why do you behave the way you do? Is there any explanation or any reason which comes to your head? Anything which comes on the top of your head? Could you write that down? Actually, I'm not sure if you're online or not. All right. So the way we behave right now essentially is a result of the actions we take. All right. And the actions we take are a result of the habits we've formed over years and years. The habits we've formed over the past 20, 15, 20 years, or even more, is a result of how we've been programmed. Right? And how we've been programmed comes down to our experiences, which we've been through as a child. I hope that makes sense. Right, so there is a concept which gives you, let's say, a flow of how you come out to behave the way we behave. It all comes down to our subconscious mind. I mean, I think this is a term which you've heard over the past few years more often than before. I'm not going to talk about the subconscious brain and how it works. I mean, that's a different topic altogether, and it's pretty deep. So what we're going to talk about now is something which is known as core beliefs. Right? We are the results of the beliefs we have. Right? We're basically the results of the habits we've formed, and the habits have been formed as a result of the beliefs we have. Right? So allow me to explain you through an example. So what really happens is that you have an early experience in your childhood, at school, at home, in your neighborhood, or anywhere else. For the sake of discussion, we're going to take two experiences, as you can see on the screen. So let's say one of them is that you're bullied at school, not you or myself or anyone for that matter, or you felt left out at home, right? Negligence by parents, being left out by siblings, could be any of these. Now, each of these experiences or any of these experiences will eventually build a core belief. Now, one question people ask normally is that how often does the experience have to occur to create a core belief? Now, this is not maths. This is not a question of, it's going to happen 4 times and then you're going to have a belief, or it's going to happen 6 times or 10 times and then the belief is going to happen. That's not how it works. The human mind is a complex tool, and it's an independent tool. Your brain works differently than mine, and similarly, like the millions of people that we come in touch with. Every brain is significantly different, and the way it adapts experiences is also different. So it really depends on the significance of the incident. If your brain considered it as significantly important, even one incident would be enough to instill a core belief in your head. If you do not consider that as important or significant, it could happen multiple times before it creates a core belief in your head. So how and why the core belief is created attributes eventually to the significance your brain puts out to this. So if someone who's really significant in your life, like a parent, like an elder brother or a sister, or a very close friend, their words and actions have a higher probability of creating a core belief in your head. Right? Someone I don't know, even if they abuse me, wouldn't really bother me. Why? Because they're not significant. I do not associate any importance with this person. Does it make sense? I hope it does. Great. So now we were at the point where an early experience happened. Let's say it was significant and it created a core belief. Let's say the core belief that was formed in your brain was, I'm a failure. Right? You failed at school, you failed at something, and that's the reason why people were, leaving you out. Let's say out of school activities. There were group activities you were doing with your friends at school, and you weren't good at it, and they tried to, involve you in it, but you weren't able to do it for whatever reason. Every child, every human has their certain set of capabilities. You can't be good at everything. So they just left you out. Now, the belief that's gone in your head says, I'm a failure. Now, once that belief is formed, now what's going to happen is your brain is going to make something which is known as a dysfunctional assumption. A dysfunctional assumption is basically a rule of life. Now, this is how you will start reacting to this core belief. This is how you will start living your life. And the more you do it, the more, the more you do it, the programming gets more solidified, if that's the word. All right, because the first time you do it, a pathway starts developing in your head. And when you do it the second or the third or the fourth time, it becomes more solidified. And then you do it over and over again. And then you start doing it without being consciously aware of it. That's how the subconscious brain works. So we were talking about the dysfunctional assumption. Now, when your core belief has become that I'm a failure, the first possible assumption, or if I'll just for the, to make it easier to understand, the first rule of life you will develop, you might develop, not you will, is I may as well not try because I will only fail. Now, you might have seen children who, when they start believing that they're not good enough, or they're, others are better than them, or they're failing at something, they go into this surrender mindset. They stop trying. I'm sure you've seen those children. I've not just children, even adults. And adults are adults because they've gone through these experiences. There was a great psychologist, I forgot his name, I'm going to go back and Google that. And he had a very, very interesting saying. And he said, show me the boy and I'll show you the man. What does that mean? That means that the man is going to be the result of the experiences the boy goes through. So you start seeing the skeleton of the man when you see the boy, unless there's something drastic that could happen, unless there is another experience that could happen that could override the core belief that he has, right? Core beliefs continue to form over time. It's not that once you or I believe that we're a failure, it can never be undone. It can be. It is all about the significance of the experience that we face over, let's say, the next few months, the next few years, or whenever. And whenever people, sometimes they have a realization that they need to change themselves. How do they do it? They believe, they create a belief consciously about something, and they start acting towards that. So what changes? The assumptions, the rule of life. They start acting in a different way, and that eventually changes the belief. Anyways, so what we were saying is that there is a rule of life that I may as well not try because I will only fail. So that's a surrender mindset. And then there could be some people who work in an overcompensation mindset. Now, what's an overcompensation? Now, because they have this, for the lack of a better word, I'll say it's a fear, right? That I'm a failure. I wouldn't be accepted by society, because we all, as humans, we're social animals. We have this need to be accepted by society, right? So I might not be accepted. This is a fear. So how do they react? They react in an overcompensation mindset. They overcompensate things. So what they do is they work really hard and they try to do everything perfectly so they won't be a failure. So they're working in a 180-degree opposite direction to the one that was in a surrender mindset. You see the difference? And I'm sure you have seen people working in both sort of ways. You'll see some people working in a surrender mindset. You'll see people working in an overcompensation mindset that, because they consider me as a failure, I'm going to be so damn good that I'm going to be accepted. I'm going to be loved. Some people are, they have this fear that they're not loved or liked by society or by parents or by siblings. And they try to do everything perfectly. And in the middle of that, doing things this way, they develop an expectation, right? That's where things go a different direction altogether. We're going to talk about that later. So this is the second rule of life. The third one is, if I avoid pushing it, if I avoid doing it altogether, I can't fail. So I avoid it. So these are the three categories of the rules of life that we develop. And why do we develop these? Because we have a belief. And why is a belief there? Because there was an earlier experience. Every action that we do is a result of the programming in our head. I can tell you very, very confidently that the way you stand, the way you talk to people, the way you fold your hands, the way your body gestures move, the way you react to certain statements or criticism or appreciation, it is all programmed in your head. And what does that link to? That links to a core belief. Some people are very uncomfortable when they get appreciated. Some people get very, very annoyed and they react in a very negative way when they're criticized. They're not thinking when the criticism happens. They're not thinking when the appreciation happens. It's just that the brain reacts automatically. Why does it react? Because it's all fed in the subconscious brain. And why is it fed in the subconscious brain? Because there is a belief. And why is the belief formed? Because it relates to, it links to one, two, or a few experiences that that child has faced when they were younger. The subconscious brain starts developing when I think we're 4 or 5 years old. It starts solidifying when we're 7 or 8, and it's in a pretty good shape by the time we're 12, right? It's not that it can't be changed, but the first step to change, what is it? It's realization.
is awareness. All progress in life begins with truth, right? So now if you trace back to some of the actions you're doing, you will understand where do you fall. I mean, this is a food for thought for you, Sarah. If you go back to any of your actions, just first you got to be self-aware that when this particular thing happens, how do I react? Do I surrender? Do I overcompensate? Do I avoid? It's always going to fall in these three categories. Once you realize that, then you're going to understand what your core belief is. And trust me, it is very easy. Once you reach the core belief, you will eventually, sooner or later, remember the experiences that you had that actually linked you to the core beliefs. It's not just about women, it's not just about teenagers, it's about men as well. All of us have the same the way we operate as humans is the same. We're talking about women in general because obviously the country we come from, they don't have many opportunities, and most of the women that we come in contact with, they work in either a surrender mindset or an avoidance mindset. Why is that? Because they have a core belief, right? Anyways, I think I just got carried away with the timing, and there was just one concept that I really wish many people will know. Maybe they do know, and I'm just feeling very proud that I read it recently, and I just wanted to share that. I hope it helped, and if you have any questions, please feel free to share those, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. And if I can't, I promise to get you an answer the sooner I can. And yeah, that's about it for today. And thank you for joining. Are you still here? Oh, we have Uzma as well. And Sarah's not here, so Madiha and Uzma are there. Great, ladies. I hope I'm not sure what time you joined in and if what I said made sense to you guys. And yeah, that's about it for today, I guess. Thank you for being a very patient audience. I hope to see you guys next Sunday. We'll be doing this every Sunday, about 20-minute session on some basic psychological concepts and how the brain works. How do we react to certain instances, certain events? Yeah, and yeah, that's it for today. Thank you.